The United States and Mexico have a very touchy past, and even though they are friendly neighbors, their friendship is being put to the test in more ways than one. Despite there being many things that both countries agree on, the chaos taking place at the southern border and how to handle it is not one of them. Here are the top 10 problems at the US-Mexico border. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Number 10. Drug smuggling. It is estimated that the combined net worth of Mexico's drug cartels are between $20 and $30 billion. Drugs at the U.S. southern border have seen a massive rise since 2021, and there seems to be no end in sight. The most common drugs smuggled are cocaine, heroin, methamphetamines, and fentanyl. It is no longer a secret that China is working with the Mexican cartels and is helping to provide 90% of the illicit fentanyl surfacing in the United States. On land, drug smuggling takes place at over 100 ports of entry from the U.S. southern border, and the most popular mode of transport is by commercial trucks, but also by private and rental vehicles. The Gulf of Mexico, the Pacific Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean are some other locations used by Mexican cartels to smuggle tons of drugs into the United States. And with such a powerful supplier like China, many drug cartels have been emboldened and are now willing to fight anyone that stands in the way of this money-making operation, including the U.S. military. Number 9. Illegal border crossings. In 2022, the number of illegal border crossings reached historic levels. It is estimated that in 2022 alone, over 2 million illegal immigrants crossed into the United States. California, Texas, Florida, and Arizona report the most illegal immigrant border crossings each year. These are some of the hotspots that make up about 80% of all illegal border crossings into the U.S. The level of economic activity and diversity in these states makes them perfect for hiding from authorities. Although many of these people are just looking for a better life, this is not always the case. Legal immigration usually takes years and thousands of dollars to achieve, which most people illegally immigrating do not have. This puts most immigrants in a position to be taken advantage of by cartels. Making matters worse is the connections between Mexican cartels and the Chinese Communist Party. China knows that the U.S. southern border is wide open, and they use this to their advantage by sending massive amounts of fentanyl to Mexico that is then pushed into the U.S. This has become a political talking point and something that both Democrats and Republicans see as a major issue. Number 8. Weapon smuggling. Weapon smuggling is another profitable arm of the Mexican and South American cartels. But this is a two-way street. A portion of the guns found or confiscated in Mexico come from the United States. It is estimated that weapons or small arms smuggling is worth between $1 to $4 billion annually. And between the U.S. and Mexico, an estimated 200,000 plus firearms cross the border each year. The key to these weapons making their way back into Mexico is through concealment in commercial or agricultural vehicles. Many of the vehicles that are used are owned by businesses that are set up as fronts for the cartels. One of the prime times that weapons are smuggled back into Mexico is during spring break, due to the wave of tourists crossing into Mexico from the U.S. Number 7. Kidnapping. In March of 2023, 4 Americans were kidnapped in Matamoros, Mexico, which resulted in 2 of the 4 Americans being slayed. Sadly, this is another part of the cartel's playbook and income stream. There are many safe places in Mexico for tourists and those with dual citizenships looking to live abroad. But it is estimated that 300 to 400 Americans are kidnapped or involved in kidnappings in Mexico, and 10,000 global tourists who visit Mexico go missing each year. Despite the efforts of the Mexican government and international agencies, Mexico is still among the world's most popular hubs for kidnapping. Number 6. Human trafficking. Due to the sensitive nature of this topic, it will only be briefly covered. Trafficking is one of the cartel's most disturbing revenue streams that is tied directly into number 7 on the list. Many of these people are forced into slave labor or worse. All of this ties into why Mexico has one of the highest rates of human trafficking in the world. Number 5. Money laundering. The Mexican cartels bring in billions of dollars every year, but this money is useless if they cannot use it. This is one of the problems that Pablo Escobar ran into during his reign in Colombia. He was able to amass billions of dollars, but no bank would touch his money, limiting him to only illegal ventures with his wealth. This eventually forced him to bury billions of dollars across Colombia, most of which has never been discovered. Today, what many cartels have done to bypass this is investing into legitimate businesses, which ultimately gives many cartels leverage over small mom-and-pop business owners that they use as fronts in order to escape local and international laws. Cartels see what they do as business, and every business has cycles, which is why their ultimate goal is to diversify their funds so they are in a more secure position. Number 4. Bribes. Bribery is one of the oldest forms of persuasion and corruption. In 1 year alone, the FBI convicted over 1,600 federal, state, and local officials with an additional 2,500 pending investigations. But the cartel's biggest targets are border agents. On the U.S. side of the border, most border agents do their jobs and do their jobs well, but they become irrelevant if their fellow agents are not doing the same. Bribery at the U.S. border is something that is often not talked about, but at many ports of entry, it happens and happens often. While most U.S. border agents abide by the rules and stand by their oaths to protect the United States, bad actors still find ways to slip through the cracks. Sadly, even if this equates to less than 1% of U.S. border agents who are corrupt, that still means millions of dollars, weapons, and drugs making it through the U.S. southern border. Number 3. Cartel and gang violence. Violence has been increasing at the U.S.-Mexico border as cartels fight over territory and smuggling routes. There are two critical components of any cartel. You can dominate your opponents by any means necessary or collapse into nothing. Many former U.S. Border Patrol officers have stated that the U.S. open border policies are the cause of the rise in gang and cartel violence at the southern border. Mexican criminal organizations like MS-13, 18th Street Gang, as well as cartels like the Juarez Cartel and Sinola Cartel have all been involved in conflicts with rivals that have started to spill over into the U.S. On January 18th of 2023, a mother, child, and 4 others were slain by cartel members in Goshen, California. This shocked many across the U.S. that the cartels operate at this level within the country. With such relaxed criminal and border policies, many gangs and cartels out of Mexico and Latin America are seizing the opportunity to establish themselves to make millions. Number 2. Terrorist and Chinese nationals. This was once thought of as an outlandish possibility or conspiracy, but in recent years, enemies of the U.S. have taken advantage of the United States border crisis. In 2021, there has not only been a surge in illegal immigrants from Mexico and South America crossing the U.S. southern border, but also Chinese nationals who are working with the cartels to cross into the U.S. In December of 2022, 17 people who were on the terror watch list were apprehended trying to cross into the United States. As Mexico and South America start to fall under the influence of China, more and more reports will begin to surface of Chinese nationals illegally crossing through the southern border. It is very common for illegal immigrants to cross the border owing debts to the cartels or coyotes, smugglers, and are forced to work for the cartels to pay off their debts, which results in many working in the deserts or forests of California, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, or New Mexico to build marijuana farms or meth labs that are guarded by armed cartel members. This is all happening right now, not in Mexico, but on U.S. soil. Number 1. Political corruption. Mexico ranks as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Many of the government officials, company, and corporate leaders, the military, and the police all play a role in the country's corruption. Bribery, blackmail, and extortion are all tricks of the trade in Mexico, and the innocent people are the ones that pay the price. Mexico has tried for decades to crack down on this, but nothing seems to change. And now, cartels are starting to set up shop in the remote deserts and forests of the U.S. Over the last 10 years, land in the deserts and forests of California, Texas, and Arizona have been acquired by cartels in 3 ways. The land is purchased and the seller knows that they are selling it to the cartel. U.S. citizens unknowingly selling their land to the cartel and land being illegally taken or occupied by cartels. But it takes two to tango, and corruption is something that takes place not only on the Mexican side of the border, but on the U.S. side as well. The U.S. Border Patrol is one of the main targets for the cartel to bribe and corrupt. All it takes is turning one Border Patrol agent, and you can smuggle in hundreds of thousands in illegal goods. This has led many citizens, law enforcement officers, Border Patrol agents, and government officials to warn that relaxing drug laws will cause a cascade of issues that the United States is not set up to handle. So buckle up, America, because this is only the beginning of the war at the southern border.